Well, since I got power out here now, as you see on the floor, I put some floor patching compound on the floor, on the seams, and as soon as it dries, I'm going to start doing the floor in here. When I was planning on doing this building, I thought about doing different kind of floors, wood floors, laminate floors, vinyl. I watched a bunch of videos on YouTube of flooring. I kept seeing the paper bag floors. And so, you know, it piqued my interest. So that's what I'm going to do out here, is I'm going to do paper bag floor. And I'm hoping by the time I get all the poly on it and stained up and the poly on it, I'm hoping it turns out really good. And if it doesn't, you know, because it only costs about 70 bucks to do it, and that's with the floor patching stuff. It only costs about $70 to do the whole floor, and you know, I'm all for that. If I was going to do another floor, it would be a kind of a laminate, but they're just planks, and they have like a glue strip on the edges. They install pretty much like laminate floor does, except the edges glue to each other. If I would have done that, that would have been about $270. So I'm going to try the paper bag floor first and see if that doesn't work. See if I like it. And if not, I'll just cover it over. Wet. I'm getting ready to rip up a bunch of contractor's paper, and when I do, I'll get my glue and water mixture together and get this place all swept up, and we will start doing a paper bag floor. Well, there's part of my floor right there, all wadded up. Got that over there. That's the straight pieces, or the pieces with the straight edges on them. And then that's the non-straight edge pieces. Then what I got here is a gallon of Elmer's glue and a gallon of water. So I'm going to stir it up, mix it up. I'm going to start putting these pieces down. I got tired of ripping and balling up. So I'm going to lay down what I got there. See how far it'll get me. Well, I got the floor all sanded, as you see, and I start laying down paper. Let's get a close-up view of, see how it just lays down, and those little crinkles just pick up, you know, they're kind of like veins. So it's kind of like a stone, a leather kind of look, but it's my roll, my wads of paper there. I got straight ones over there, straight ones over there, and I'll lay down some, and when I get tired of laying them down, I'll start ripping paper again. But you know, I did this last night, so I didn't get quite halfway done, and I guess I got too much glue on it because there's still glue drying, but it's all good. It'll dry by the time I get done. I was thinking about what color to stain it, but if this is the color right here that it dries as, I'm just going to put poly on top of it and be done with it. Because I wanted a lighter color, so yeah, I think it'll look good when it's all done. Still wet. So I'll play with the glue technique a little more, and hopefully it'll be dry by tomorrow. I'm talking about the new stuff I put down. But it'll definitely make a difference. I think it'll look good when it's done. Well, there's my last piece of paper all rolled out. There's a bunch of stuff I've ripped up. Man, you wouldn't think ripping up paper would take so long, but it actually does. What I was doing was just ripping up enough and wadding them up, and there's some wadded up pieces right there. That's my straight pieces. widen them up, and when I got done I was going to take a break, and that worked okay for a while, but now I'm just ready to get this thing done. You know, that section over there I worked on at night after I got home. This section over here I worked on last night after I got home, and you know, it's Saturday today, so I'll get the rest of it done, and you know, hopefully tomorrow I'll be staining, and Super Bowl Sunday too, so staining won't take that long, and then I'll have to wait for it to dry, and I'll start doing poly. Well, I've got the floor all down and stained, and I'm just out here this morning before I head off to work to fix a couple places, like right there, there, and there, one over there. It just happened to have lift off, meaning the paper was just lifting off the floor, and it was causing a bubble. And then I have some places in front of the door over there. So I'm out here to stain those so I can go to work. And when I get back home this afternoon, the stain will be dry, and I'll be able to start putting the poly down. It's an up close kind of view of what the paper looks like when you crinkle it all up. It creates those little veins. Stain picks those veins up, and it kind of makes it look like a, I don't know, like stone. Some people say leather, but to me it looks good. It definitely is time consuming to do a floor like this. It's cheap to do a floor like this, but it's very, very time consuming to do a floor like this. I don't care what anybody says, it's time consuming. Ripping all the paper up, gluing it all down, you know, staining doesn't take that long. And I'm sure, well, polying's going to take a while because, you know, I got to let it dry, go to work, let it dry, go to work. I think it turned out good as far as the actual pattern and stuff like that, but we'll see what it looks like after it gets poly. I'm ready to stain the pieces I put down and then go to work. I've got the second coat of poly on, and I'm getting ready to sand actually. I was using a lamb's wool applicator, but I was getting these little bubbles. So I'm just gonna go ahead and resort to using a brush. I'm only going to put 4 coats on here, so I've already got 2. I'm going to sand it now, and then I'll start on my 3rd coat. And I'm going to use a brush on the last 2 coats. Hopefully I won't get those little bubbles in there anymore. There's not a lot of them, but there's enough. We'll update it here in just a little bit, but that's what the paper bag floor looks like with 2 coats of poly on it. Coming out pretty good. Well, I got the 4th and final coat of poly done on the floor, and I think it turned out pretty good. It's not a wood floor by no means, so it's not as smooth as a wood floor would be, but it really did turn out good. You can see I got different color variations, and that's from 2 different reasons why. Like that side over there, I did one night, and I did a 50-50 glue mix. And when I came in the next day, it still wasn't dry, so I said, well, I'm going to do this section here from over there along this wall, and I'll add a little water to it, and it did fine. It dried, you know, in a reasonable amount of time, but it was a different color actually. I just totally got rid of that glue and started a new mixture and used 1 part glue, 2 parts water, and I did this section over here. And it's a little darker, but that's because of the glue mixture, but the paper actually has two different sides. One's a more porous side, one's a smoother side, and so the darker ones there is actually the porous side. And I don't mind it actually having different variations in color. I just, you know, I don't care about that. I actually like that look a little better. So kind of in summary, of course this is the first time I've ever done this at all. So if I was to do it again, I would actually do it a little differently. And I'm talking about when I'm doing the poly. I used a lamb's wool applicator on the first two coats, and you know, it sprayed it on there and it did a good job. Only as you was doing the application, you know, it kind of left a trail or whatever, and so those little pieces are showing up, little like bubbles or whatever. And since this isn't wood and it's actually paper, you can't really sand it, because if you sand down too much, you'll get into the paper. So kind of stuck with what you got, but that's fine. I mean, it is just a floor. So if I was to do it again, I would definitely use a brush. And I used oil-based poly on this, and if I was to do it again, I would use water-based. Water-based poly and a brush. Like I said, I've never done it before. I'm not a floor guy, I'm a heat and air guy. That poly went on like syrup. And so I just, you know, I know the water-based, it goes on thinner, and, you know, it would have done a better job, in my opinion. So, I mean, but otherwise it turned out good. I'm happy with the finish. I'm happy with the floor. It was either do this type of floor or do some like laminate floor in here. I like this floor a lot better than laminate. You don't have that echoing, you know, that you would have with laminate. To me, it's really a nice floor. Not too bad for my first one. I mean, I like the different color variations in the paper. You have these little crinkles here where it was all wadded up. And I mean, like I said, I think it turned out really well. And after I get all the desk and you know, maybe a rug in here and all the different furniture and whatever, the floor is not even going to be really looked at. So, I mean, like I said, after all, it is just a floor, but I think it turned out pretty good. It's hard to believe that this used to be contractor's paper.